Welcome back to the Remembering Podcast. This is a podcast designed to help you remember who you are. I am one of your two hosts, OnenO, and this is...
I'm KK.
And today, we're coming from Nashville, Tennessee, per usual. But we have some awesome friends that we wanted to introduce you all to and just have a fun conversation with. We got Mitchell and Geyshla, and there's some new friends of ours that we've just had some great conversations with. And we thought that this would make for a great podcast discussion.
Or we could say Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Geyshla.
Yes, I do.
You don't have to.
I know
do.
you don't care, but
I'm going to say doctor
I
from
want
here
the
on out.
audience to know we are sitting in the midst of like some pretty badass, educated, intuitive healers. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the main thing that we wanted to kind of dive into in this podcast, which I think we're going to completely dive in after we get a little bit of backstory. But what bonded all of us was talking with each other about mask regulations and what's going on in society with COVID response, and especially in the medical professional or the profession. That's the word I'm looking for. But you guys directly work in these zones, and you do chiropractic. Is that how you say it? Chiropractic.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm using terms right. So you do this, and you do it without masks, and you don't force people to wear masks. You also don't wear masks.
Correct.
And I think that is super bold. Maybe let's just break this part of the conversation down for a few minutes, and then I want to dive into your guys' backstory.
Yeah.
So why do you do that? Like, why no masks?
Well, I don't believe in masks.
Yeah,
So
something with there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, but when looking at it from more of like a neurological perspective, is we're all made up of, this beautiful aspect of the system called the vagal system.
Mm-hmm.
And the vagal system has to do with just one aspect of it is more of facial expressions. So when we cannot see a person's face, it sends us into a state of stress and into a state of tension.
Yeah.
And that's not the environment that we're trying to create in our space. So it's
that's
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
it.
that's
one-
that's
that's
a
one
one little
element.
micro part. And like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when people ask us, we just kindly say no, and then we tell them that, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And then they're obviously free to go somewhere else if they don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
We have had,
Right.
Yeah. Have you had people leave just
Yeah.
because of the masks?
Yeah, we have had, at least I have had so far 3 encounters.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
honestly, you speak with your truth and with your heart and your hands,
Yeah.
and they feel that, and it's
Sure.
like you stand true for what you believe, and that's how I share it. I
Yeah.
don't believe in that, and I can
Yeah.
tell you why. We can get into the scientific, explanation, or just, I would say that I don't believe in it. And that's what I have done with those 3 people, and it has turned out into a beautiful conversation of like agree to disagree. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't believe in that because of that. Okay, so I do believe in that because of this,
Mhm.
even though it doesn't make sense for me. But I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
that's your truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what if someone came in with a mask? I mean, you guys cool with that? Like if they keep the mask on?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we always say, if you want to take it off, take it off. But if you want to keep it on, fine.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
makes you feel comfortable.
Mhm.
Because that's
That's why they're there.
the
They're looking
concept.
for healing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
hopefully through your touch and your wisdom and your presence,
Yeah.
they would feel comfortable enough at some point to say,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a safe space.
Right.
I might not take it off today, but next time I come in, I feel comfortable maybe trying to take this off. Because I think with a lot of people who wear the mask or feel they need to wear the mask, it's almost like we had to like condition ourselves to put it on all the time.
Yeah.
And now
Well,
I
I've
feel
never
like
put one on.
well, I mean, some of us have. But I feel like there's going to be this reconditioning of people feeling comfortable in a space again of saying, oh, this might actually be safe for me to take this
Totally.
off.
It
Like,
happened. Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
sensitive to people that are like, oh, I can't believe I'm actually going to take my mask off, but I'm going to try it. And like
Yeah.
Yeah.
being encouraging of that and saying, like, yeah, you can do it. Like, this is
Yeah.
fine. And this is the space we
Yeah.
have made. And
Yeah.
not to jump too far ahead or behind, but like explain, you guys are here in Nashville, Tennessee. You're actually in a part of Nashville called the Nations.
Mhm.
And tell us the name of your space.
Elemental chiropractic.
Elemental
Nice.
Chiropractic.
Elemental Chiropractic.
Okay.
And it's your guys' studio, right?
It's our
Yes.
space.
Your
yeah.
business
Yeah,
that you
we
started.
that back in November 2019, and
Wow, so just before the
just
pandemic.
before, yeah. So about a year,
pandemic.
2
It was meant
months,
to
3
happen,
months
yeah.
ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
were you told to shut down like everybody else?
No, we were
No.
essential. Chiropractic
Oh.
was essential in
Mhm.
Tennessee, so we were able to stay open. But we were sent this mass list of guidelines and stuff that just like, you know, you
Wow.
scroll through.
Sent
and you're
from
like,
who,
sick.
by the way?
The board.
The board.
Yeah,
Board,
the board.
yeah.
The health board?
The
As,
chiropractic gig.
Oh,
chiropractic
okay,
board,
got
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Which is like
From
the health
Tennessee,
board, but
yeah.
it's like a subsection is like
Ah.
chiropractic section.
Yeah.
And so is this a board that then manages your licenses?
Yeah, they do.
Yes,
practice?
but it's more so complaint based. So they're not like a
Mhm.
hovering type of. The state of Tennessee has a beautiful health board when it comes to chiropractic. They're very hands off. They are.
Mhm.
They're like they're really here for us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
amazing to
really cool.
hear.
There's,
Yeah.
There's an organization called the TCA, Tennessee Chiropractic Association, and they go to bat for people. They were the ones who were fighting for us to be essential in
Awesome.
in
Mhm.
Tennessee. So, yeah, they're not like controlling. They're very complaint based. That's what my interview doc said. Which is
Gotcha.
a really really cool doc. Just like
Yeah.
super laid back, chill. But
Nice.
Yeah.
So they gave you all of these new regulations that you had to hold up.
mm-hmm.
What was some of the stuff that was on there? Like masks, I assume?
Basically that.
yeah.
The social distancing, keeping everything clean, just
Yeah.
basic stuff.
What's
But-
funny? This is just funny. What's funny is like, of course, we deal with people every single day. We're like, we're gonna clean. Like, we're gonna clean with like natural products.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
that like you do in your home.
Yeah.
And it's funny that like, you know, you see people on social media and they're like advertising that they clean, and I'm like,
Why weren't you doing
Why
that
were you-
before?
Yeah, why is that new? Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the same concept as washing your hands. Like,
You know, I really don't think a lot of people have common sense. And I think this is really showing us how many people like need step-by-step instructions just to get through the day.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I will adhere to this list that you've provided to me because I don't know how to think for myself anymore.
But then the irony is that people that are not in alignment with what we're currently talking about could literally say the same thing about us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That like
Mm.
you're uneducated, that you don't wear masks and
Oh,
things
yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
You know? But
Yeah.
Well, that is you're on one, unfortunately right now, you're on one side of the coin.
yeah.
It's the same coin. We're all
Same coin.
one.
yeah.
But we're just seeing this current state of affairs very extremely different.
Totally.
So it's really encouraging to find someone. And, you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and I'm really encouraged by Austin. They have a huge
Austin,
group.
Texas?
Yeah, Austin, Texas has just
Yeah.
a huge group of people that are really coming together and finding one another, that are speaking their truth and living their truth and living through their intuition, and having their spiritual guide, you know, their higher self be their spiritual guide. But Nashville has that too.
Right.
And we were talking to someone today, my boyfriend and I, Corona, we have to kind of say thank you to it in a way, because it has really brought us to find those who we're in alignment with. And
Yeah.
for that, I'm just saying, you know, that's the silver lining that
Yeah.
I'm finally starting to reframe this
Mhm.
whole pandemic around. Like, okay, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's really sucked, but we're sitting here now. We started this
Mhm.
podcast. Like,
yeah, we
there's just
found
been
a whole
lot.
new tribe of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that in our last episode, our last podcast, just reframing 2020 and kind of
Mhm.
looking back and seeing what spiritual lessons did we learn and what positives could we take away from that. And that was actually a big one for me, the idea of losing friends over these type of
Mhm.
political or societal differences.
Mm.
It's never been as extreme as it has been in 2020.
Mhm.
Like before 2020, some of my friends and I, like, we don't like the same beer, or like we don't,
Yeah.
like the
Mhm.
same food.
You could tell
or-
someone was more conservative. I'm a little bit more liberal.
Yeah,
Not
like
a big
you think
deal. We just
smoking
won't
weed
talk
is
about
bad,
it.
and I enjoy
Yeah.
smoking weed, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you're, different religion. It doesn't matter, but we would still have a form of a friendship.
Right.
And then this year, as soon as I start calling out certain things on social media, I just started losing friends. And I was like, but but why? Like, we don't have to stop being friends just
No.
because you don't think that there's like this overarching agenda being used through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I've never told people that I don't think the disease is real, but I've said from the beginning,
Yeah.
what's happening in the name of this disease is far worse
Yeah.
than the disease itself. And if that's going to polarize you to the point where you're like, we can't be friends even though I've known you for 10 years, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the fact that then that has happened, it's made space and made me have to look within and see what's really important to me. And now I've found these new friends that I'm much more in alignment with. And now we actually are able to have productive conversations
Mm-hmm.
and really talk about how we can interact with the world and change. So yeah, 2020 has been so bizarre for so many people, obviously. But I am fascinated with your guys' story of how
Mm-hmm.
throughout this type of adversity, because the crazy thing to me is the social pressure. So I'm sure you guys we've touched on this a little bit, but the people that come in that are uncomfortable, what happens with those people? Like, how do you handle that?
So it's like she said, it's a very beautiful thing that happens. Is like there's no attachment, and that's something that we practice is no attachment.
Yeah.
In our office and even in our life too. We just have a nice casual conversation, and then we refer them somewhere that they can go, and they're like, okay,
That's
cool.
cool.
It's not met with. We haven't had the the instance where it's met with a lot of resistance or anger, or because we don't meet them that way. We are. The practice is like the best form of ourselves coming into this space, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
just like to hang out there sometimes. But
So it's
Yeah.
the way that you express it, as he
Yeah.
has said. Like for me, when I'm at the office and I tell the people that I see, the virus doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
And literally, like I believe that.
Mhm.
Like in my space, as soon as I walk into the doors, like coronavirus doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I tell them, and they laugh, and I'm like, but for real, like
Yeah.
viruses, they have a vibration, and
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
you get sick. If your
Totally.
vibration is low, then you're gonna match the vibration of the virus, any virus, and then you get sick.
Everything is frequency.
Yeah.
Everything's vibration.
Yeah.
That's,
So
And we know that our bodies have innate intelligence. And we know that our mind programs and interacts with that innate intelligence.
exactly. And that's the
So
other
if you
part.
walk in the
Yeah.
door and you say, be fearful,
Yeah.
it's fascinating to me how many friends that I have that are mask wearers through and through. They everywhere they go. They're the ones that have gotten corona. And the people that I know that don't wear masks have not really gotten corona.
Wow.
I know what you're thinking of, but I'm just saying in general. I
mean,
think
I
there's
got
a-
corona.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to call you out,
But
but
I don't care if people know or don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I'm an open book.
You're
But
immune already. so.
I'm really, it was just, my boyfriend, my daughter, and we all got it at the same time. And it was kind of a bonding experience for us in a way. Like, I guess you could say that. I mean, but guess what? We got over it and we're fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the encouraging part is like, that is the thing. And I want to go into your stories, but the fear of death is the thing that I think is the crux of this whole
Yeah.
coronavirus thing. That's why it has so much power, because people are scared of death. And we were talking before we went live, but in the West, we do not have a healthy outlook or relationship with the idea of like what death looks like. And so, and I think that should be for another day. Like,
Sure,
we'll just
yeah,
call the
that's
podcast Death.
yeah, it won't be heavy at all.
Anyway, we die every day. We die every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
Are born
It's
every day.
fascinating to me that this last year where there's been a supposed pandemic, if you look at CDC.com and look at the total death numbers throughout the entire year, it's not higher, it's lower. It's actually below the average of the last few years.
Yeah.
But at best, you could say it's on par with
Right.
every year's death
Right.
numbers,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
even though it is less
all
than
the
the
way
last.
dating back to like 2015, 2014.
Yes.
I was sitting in an infrared sauna with one of my friends, and he was like talking about that, and he just went back and he was like saying the number very like this. And he went all the way down to like
Yeah.
it was wild, and I was like, what? So
Yeah, well, I'm super grateful that I saw a clip this week of Tony Robbins.
I know. I
Yeah.
thought
It
we'd
was
bring him
so
up.
amazing.
That's so great.
Because
Yeah.
finally a really
But you know
prominent
what?
figure is talking.
He's been on this mission of spirituality for a few years,
Yeah.
and he had interviewed Michael Singer not too long ago. Him and his wife Sage were giving out The Untethered Soul as like a Christmas gift to their
wow.
closest friends and
That's such a
family.
Such a good book.
Good
So,
book.
you know,
Mhm.
if you've been on a journey of something bigger and grander than your egoic individual self, you're gonna have a viewpoint around this that's just
Mhm.
not gonna fit the narrative of
Yeah.
like what the news says, the easy fast food information that we're being delivered every single day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to know why you guys went into the chiropractic realm. I know that you're from Puerto Rico
I am.
and you're actually a Nashville native.
Yeah.
So how did
Yeah.
you guys meet each other?
Mm.
How did you get into the realm of chiropractic healing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like to frame it maybe in the spiritual sense too. Like,
was gonna ask.
what in your heart led you down this path?
Mm.
Mm.
Do you want the 5D story or the 3D?
You
Oh,
go 5D.
definitely the 5D or
10D,
even
please do that.
7D. Like, let's get up
Weave
there.
in between them, you
Yeah.
know. Like,
Yeah. So really, chiropractic. We'll start there because chiropractic is always the median
Yeah, yeah.
to the unknown. Yeah, I was in undergrad. I was gonna go into PT. I was in a
Mhm.
fraternity and was at a tailgate with one of my brothers at the time, and I was talking to him about some stuff, and he mentioned he was going to Life, where actually she so happened to go to school, and
life.
What is life?
Life University.
Life University. It's
Oh,
in
so it's a
Atlanta,
literal
Georgia.
school called life,
It's
much
called
like
Life.
life itself is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see
Oh,
what
life
they did
school.
there. Yeah.
So where is
Yeah.
life?
In Marietta, Georgia.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. You are life.
Attendee. It's in Marietta, Georgia, but
Okay.
so he said the word chiropractic school, and I was like, something within me shifted, something within me changed, and I immediately went home and I looked up chiropractic, and of course, like when you Google anything, you're gonna find all the negative shit that
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
up, like quackery, it's this, it's that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, I'm going there.
Yeah, let's check it
So
out.
I applied to a school, and I actually didn't go to Life. What's funny is the person who I was with at the time, she was like really against going there, and I was like, okay, I'm not going there. So
Yeah.
if I would have went there,
I would have met you.
we would have. But that's a
Oh,
total
wow.
different.
Yeah.
It happened
life.
eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our altered life. But
Yep.
I went to Logan University or Logan College in St. Louis there, and yeah, within the chiropractic profession, it's the same thing as here. You know, like you have to go the opposite way
Mm.
of a parade, but even within the profession, you have to do the same thing.
Mm.
It's very physical. It's like, you know, just very motion restriction, just all about pain, all about this.
Yeah.
And so within that, I was right around end of my first year, and the originators of chiropractic is D.D. Palmer and B.J. Palmer. They have a really cool story that we can get into
Yeah.
eventually, but they've got these books, and they're called green books, and just diving into those, diving into the philosophy, diving into the art and then the science of what chiropractic is, you know, that we all have this innate intelligence within us that is
Mm.
operating at 100% all the time. It's perfect, it's beautiful, it's omnipresent, it's omnipotent, and it is, you know, in the religious sense known as God, or
Yeah.
you know, creativity, or imagination,
Yeah.
however you want to view it, but that impulse is there, and it just needs, you know, to be allowed to function properly through this median body of clay.
Totally.
Yeah.
So is that kind of what led you into wanting to explore chiropractic
No,
stuff
I went to
then?
chiropractic school for the total wrong reasons.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell
Okay.
us all the wrong
I went
reasons
to
you
Yeah.
went there
chiropractic
for.
school for like
Spill the beans.
all totally like money stuff, like, oh, this is going to be a great job for you and your family, and like you know, stuff like that, like very egocentric, but at a
And you
deep-
can be your own boss, like you be
yeah, just, like,
entrepreneur.
freedom,
Yeah,
which
right.
I always
Mhm.
loved. Like as a kid, I was a very, you know, do my own thing kind of guy, or kid, or child, whatever you want to say. But
Yeah.
I always went the opposite way, and that thing. But
So
Yeah.
the chiropractic path was the opposite thing then for you? Like
Yeah.
it felt
Like,
like, a
did you have
rebellion?
an aha moment while you were in school and you're like, whoa, I did not come here for this reason, but now I get why
As
I'm
soon as
here.
I started reading those books,
Really?
I was
Wow.
like, wow,
Like,
this is why I'm here. This is why I'm here, because everyone needs to know this. Everyone needs to get in touch with themselves. Their
What
creative
drop a few
intuition.
of those gems. What's one or two of
Yeah.
those gems?
Oh man.
we're dumb. We need
Yeah.
Like,
spoon feed us.
What's some chiro gems? Some
Don't look
good-
at me.
Some good philosophical gems. I don't know.
Even your take, like after all of
universal.
this practice that you've been doing, what about what about the chiropractic medium makes you feel like a healer?
Well, I'm not the healer. The person's the healer. I'm
you
the
go.
facilitator. So, I guess that
That's a gem.
really that
Yeah.
within
Yeah,
itself
I
is
am
like
yes.
Yes.
Same. Yeah.
like that we deal with the subtle substance of the soul.
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
heart blown open. Like man.
Can you tell when someone comes in and they're not in their heart?
Totally.
Oh yeah.
You can.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
what's beautiful is that the pattern that our physical body creates around the closing of the heart can be indicated through the work that we study through our mentor
Mm.
that I was talking to you about before. But this beautiful pattern of how the body will just bind and crystallize energy into the form, and it shows up in the feet.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
and you're like, okay, but from a place of non-judgment, from a place of just holding that
Mm.
and
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
amazing. You go on that, Geyshla.
Yeah.
How did, because I saw you come to life with that.
Let me get
Yeah,
this
bring that up
closer.
closer.
There
Now
you
you
go.
guys can hear me.
That's it.
we'll probably get into how we meet too.
Well, yeah, that's my favorite story. Anyway, but yeah, I come from Puerto Rico. So actually, the president of when I was in college, the president of the college that I went to, of Life University, he went to Puerto Rico to give a talk in English, and I didn't know English,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go there. So I remember I was in the first row, in front of him, this 6 feet tall man, like super big, like you know,
Powerful dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
he really
Yeah.
powerful. You could feel him. I think that was it. Long story short,
Yeah.
that was it. I could feel what the passion that he was transmitting
Mhm.
through his words.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, I don't know what the heck he's saying. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand shit. Like, but I'm going. So he was over.
But I'm sold.
Literally, I was like, I'm
Like literally
sold.
no English. Like
Wow.
no English.
That's
Hey,
amazing.
a little
Comprehend
bit.
English.
I would.
Yeah.
She
Couple
always
of
says that
words.
so subtly, and I always have to stop and be like, people
Yeah.
like she knew no English.
So that was
Wow.
totally a feeling.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
total that. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was offering open house. So they would like pay for everything. They would reimburse the airplane tickets. So I was like, of course I'm gonna go to Atlanta. Let's do it. You know.
Wow.
So during that weekend, that was when I knew. You know, that was when I knew. Like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Like, it was a whole weekend of talks and you know, about chiropractic, about life. And my school, the school that I went to, I would say that there's the most like vitalistic in a way chiropractic school out there.
Oh, wow.
All chiropractic schools are different, meaning that some of them are more mechanistic, more focused on pain and you know that 1D part of chiropractic,
Yeah.
I would say. But I just felt it. So I was like, okay, I don't know English. I have no idea how I'm going to get here or when, but I'm going to go to chiropractic school.
You felt the call.
I felt the call.
Mm.
However, my mindset, because I was an athlete when I was in school, I was a track and field athlete,
Oh, wow.
long distance runner. And that was actually what got me into a chiropractor,
Okay.
because I was having like
Oh.
low back pain, knee pain. And
Yeah.
obviously I was injury free after a couple of months. And I
Mm.
was like, dude, but then all of a sudden I started feeling different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started noticing more awareness within me. And
Yeah.
I would say when I was in college, I was pretty unaware of who I was,
Yeah.
like completely unconscious being.
I think most college students are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an
Yeah, of
average
course.
phase.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but not everybody grows out of that. you
Right,
know,
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful.
Yes.
But then I started noticing myself, and I started changing. You know, like physical symptoms were going away, like constipation. You know, I could sleep better. But then I was aware of self for the
Mhm.
first time ever.
Mm.
It was like I started thinking for myself and feeling for myself.
Yeah.
And that's how I think that's how everything unfolded until I went to Atlanta to visit the college. I got into chiropractic school because I wanted to be a sport chiropractor. Obviously, I was an athlete.
Yeah.
All of us lean towards that side. But then I kind of like unconsciously surrender. Like things started happening for me.
Yeah.
Like I cannot explain it. Like I started like I met, I would say, the right people. I got like drawn into the right like clubs, you know, in school, the right seminars. I didn't question it. It just resonated within. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Plus, I was getting adjusted with this type of approach that we do.
Yeah.
And you feel it. You change so much. Like you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's like 4 years and a half of, at least for me, I was there for 4 years and a half of like chaotic change.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
constant, every day. And obviously I was like, yep, of course, this is what I'm going to do. You know, this is what I want to share with people and with the world. This is why I'm here. This is my calling. And yeah, you know, it takes a lot of courage, I would say, to practice the way that we do, especially during these times, especially with what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How did you two meet?
Oh, the 5D.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
Okay.
Like, when's this going to come?
You share me.
Drinking the water.
Get some water first.
Well, while you sip, I was really inspired with what you were saying about alignment. And I think that is in the yogic path. I'm a 200-hour yoga teacher trainee. So,
cool. Right on.
and I've taught for the last few years, kind of inconsistently. But one of the main things that they teach about is the spine. And I'm sure you guys probably know a lot about the spine.
Yeah.
But it's almost like if you can get somebody, if you as a teacher, spine aligned, everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
So there's kind of this beautiful mystery that I've seen out there in the conversation of alignment, is that just by getting into alignment, all of these amazing miracles and side effects start to take place. And like I know for me, I ended up changing my diet. I became vegetarian after 25 years of my life not being vegetarian, making fun of vegetarians, thinking I would never do something like that. And I didn't even set out to be a vegetarian. My body just one day was like, I don't like steak anymore. And I would feel like shit when I would eat it. And it was all a byproduct of my body getting into alignment and getting into a proper position of health. And then all of these other side effects, that my depression started decreasing and my social anxiety started decreasing. My diet started changing. My creativity was better because I was happier. And it was all just from getting into alignment. And so that's one thing that just fascinates me, is that you don't know what's going to happen, and you can't predict what's going to happen in some ways, but it just does. It's this miracle.
And flowing, you know, that's a big word. Like you showed up to Atlanta and you're like, and then all these things started falling into place. And I think just being in that space of saying, I'm here, and then allowing whatever presents itself and saying, all right, I'm just going to, I mean, I've found myself in so many situations where I'm like, how the hell did I end up in this room with these people? But I don't know why I'm here, but I'm going to learn something, and I'm probably going to meet somebody. And, but I do, like, flip side with you, like, I remember part of my journey, like, I went pescatarian for a lot of years, and it made me really sick.
Oh, wow.
And I started losing my hair, and my red blood count went down. And I ended up seeing, it was awful. I went and saw an acupuncturist, and he pretty much like saved me. I mean, he was like, we're getting you on a blood builder right now. And it's just because I was out of balance. I thought I was in alignment, but I wasn't in alignment. I went too far into, you know, your body. We are spiritual beings and a body. So sometimes I think we can go too spiritual and forget our body. And then sometimes we live so much in the body and we forget about our spirit. And so we got to be able to become in alignment with the equalizing both of those. For you, this is a perfect alignment for you. For me, I got out of alignment and I went too far into spirituality, and it messed my body up. And so then I went on a path of like truly finding alignment, and that was through a chiropractor and an acupuncturist. So Yeah.
And you
Um,
making the choice.
Yeah.
So
Me
you
making
took
the
the
choice
first
to go,
step,
like,
yeah.
not seek out a doctor, because I could have easily gone the Western route of like
Mm-hmm.
1-800-physician at the local hospital, because I live in Nashville and there's a million hospitals. But I didn't want to go to the hospital.
Right.
Hospital has sick people in them. Why,
Yeah.
why do I want to go to a place that has sick people? I want to go to
Yeah.
a healer, somebody who's going to be
Mhm.
intuitive about my health. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, You
Yeah.
guys
So
have-
let's get back to the meeting
love
each other.
story,
I'm
yeah.
sensing there's some interesting
Go
info
for
in
Right.
there.
So it was in November
Mhm.
of 2018, I believe. 2018, right?
you better know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
December.
No,
November,
it
what are
was-
you
it
going to
was
say?
I got it. It was the end of November because we went to a seminar in Atlanta.
No,
I-
it was December.
No, because Mexico was in December. Remember?
Okay.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, it was late. Wow, I see.
Late December, right?
It was late November of
Mhm.
2018. I drove from St. Louis with 3 of my friends down to Atlanta to this seminar. It was like with like 120 people, 150 people, a big giant seminar with all these amazing facilitators within our profession that were going to be there. And I just showed up, and the energy of the room is like, imagine like a Starseeds meetup, but just
Mhm.
like that many people, 150 people in this spot. So
Wow.
the energy was just like, oozing out of the building, and so I had to like leave. I was just like,
Wow.
I gotta
Oh,
get out of here.
wow.
I gotta
Yeah.
like step outside. So I go back in, and I didn't see you the first night. But then the next day, I come back, and it was at this little like playhouse, this little play thing. So they had this really long vertical trampoline that jumped into a foam pit. It was awesome, by the way.
Whoa, sweet. Love that stuff.
And then all of a sudden, I just see this like little curly haired little blue. She was wearing these like coral blue pants. Like I'll never forget. She
Yeah.
was just like hopping around. Like and I was like, who is that? Like just immediately, not only my eye, but like my heart, my soul is just like
Yeah.
like go this way.
You felt
Same
that
thing with
magnetic
chiropractic,
pull.
just like go this way.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but go. And the magnetic pull. And so we ended up engaging in conversation with her and a friend, and we did this group meditation together, and just the 3 of us closed our eyes and just kind of sat there and had this vision, like immediately, just like this random vision. I wasn't really aware of that at that moment, of like having those type of experiences
Yeah.
without even bringing any energy to it. And I just had this vision of, I was watching her as some like type of like Egyptian queen wearing like blue
Mm.
opal like type stuff. It's kind of vague now, but like
Yeah.
gold around, and like I was like her partner.
Yeah.
Then, man,
This is what you saw in your
this
meditation.
this is what I saw, and like I just squeezed.
Opal is my favorite.
And opal is
crystal.
her.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Like he
Really-
did it. He just met me.
Whoa.
Like,
And I totally effed up her name too. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, Geyshla, cool.
Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally went with
Yes,
it.
No,
Geyshla.
bro. The G is
Didn't
silent.
even know anything. And
what
I
I
s-
told you Tarzan.
yeah,
He had
Yeah.
long hair.
we'll get there. And I squeezed her hand, and yeah, during that moment, you had some cool things during that moment of that nice little meditation
Yeah.
that she saw a part of me in
Mm.
that. But she can get into that. But
Yeah.
yeah, when she first met me, she was like, "You look like Tarzan." I had this like really long, crazy hair, just like whatever, and I was like, "Oh, sick. Is that good?" And like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
He did look like Tarzan.
Yeah.
Really tight.
So the rest of
shirt.
the seminar, we just hung out, and I was like this guy, like trying to stay around her the whole time. Like she'd be over here, I would just like over here,
Yeah.
and
You
hang
just
out.
gotta get close to her.
Yeah. And at the end, she was struggling to get her bag in, and I like went up to her and just like engaging in conversation, helping her get her bag, and we hugged goodbye, and we held each other for a really long time. She's like, I don't know why, but I can't stop hugging you.
Wow.
Oh.
Can't stop hugging you, like the way
Yeah.
that she
And I
says
looked at him like, what did I say?
Yeah.
Went away.
Um, Yeah, and then I left, and like I was like, I couldn't even drive home. Like I was just like wide open, because I was technically still with someone at the time. We were like on our tail end of just a very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And I know it was like, okay, now I know what I have to do that I've been putting off for like 4 effing years. And I couldn't even drive home. And I was just like, dude, Adam, you're going to have to drive. And I just like sat in the car, just like,
Yeah, you felt it.
I was like, my heart was open. I was like, man,
yeah,
that's why I came.
yeah,
Wow.
pretty wild.
Mm.
So you met each other in a meditation, basically.
It was
Basically.
like, who
yeah.
does that?
That's
you know?
amazing.
Who does that?
Like,
Yeah.
we were like, literally, nice to meet you. And then there was another friend with us there.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, let's do a meditation. And I was like, of course. And I was coming actually from this another crazy seminar that I was at for like 2 weeks before that actually like put me, like we did some intense things, like through breath work, we allowed to just tap into like, I would say, high levels of consciousness that I had to stop. I had to stop like thinking it through with my logical human mind. I had to let it go, but it was really intense for me.
Yeah.
And I was like high, like up high. Like I have not been able to reach that type of sensation like ever in my life. Like in after like it was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I keep saying it because I get hot when it was scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then 2 weeks later, that was when the seminar was happening, and I was not gonna go because I was 3 weeks away from graduating, 3 months away from graduating, and I was like, no, I shouldn't go. I should save this money, blah 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 blah. But something within that same week of the seminar, where I met him, told me like, you gotta go. And I was like, man, $500, like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I would never, like, for me, seminars, that's where we like basically like developed our art. So for us, we still do seminars, like they're so much fun. But anyway, so I went to this philosophy night that I used to go every week. She's a shaman, she's a chiropractor, really old, wise woman. And I went that Tuesday, and I remember that at the end of the philosophy night, I went to she had like a bookshelf full of like angel cards, and I was like, oh, I want to pull one, and I did that. Anyway, so the card that actually like was pulled was soulmate. And I was like,
wow.
love and me, like, no. Like, it's just me, and no, blah blah blah. Anyway, and then I made the decision. I was like, okay, now I'm going, blah blah blah. So that's when we met. And then I remember that we were like, yeah, nice to meet you, let's do a meditation. And like we held hands, and I just like, it was a wild experience. And after that, I was really resistant, like to the sensation that I felt. I was like, what? Who is this guy? Like, why he's following me? Like, I'm a single person, and I'm so empowered, and I'm gonna graduate, you know. Anyway, but
that's beautiful.
That,
you know, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
There's a little more, but
yeah, no, but then
it's a little longer.
no, at the very end, and I'm almost done with it. At the very end, before we left at some point, like that's when I felt it. Like we were talking, we were 3 of us. That was at the end of the seminar, and he stared at me, and if I felt like if time stopped and the guy kept talking in front of us, and he was just like making eye contact with me, and that's when I just felt something in my heart. I was like, and then like my friend came in, and I was like, I told her, the other friend of mine, I told her in that moment, she joined the conversation, and I told her, I felt something in my heart.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And since that moment, I was like that, like, fuck, I know this is gonna be something. It has to be something. And I was resisting until, anyway, we went to Mexico, and everything was
clearly the spirit was moving and meeting with your heart so open like that. That's probably the main thing I'm taking away from this story is the power of having this open heart. And I think between this story from both of your perspectives and the story that you've shared about your chiropractic adventures, what I love about this through line I'm seeing in there is this willingness to follow spirit into the unknown. And that is magical.
And that's what you said. Chiropractic is the journey into the unknown.
It's the remembering into the unknown.
It's the remembering.
Yeah, hence the Remembering podcast.
Yeah. So I actually went and had my boyfriend and I went and had adjustments by you both last week.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the knowledge. You know, Geyshla, you adjusted me, and then Mitchell, you adjusted Alec. Yeah. But I would love for you guys to just impart a little bit of what you would say to someone as they came into like a consultation, because that was Honestly, that sold me on you guys because it didn't feel like just a like an adjustment. It felt like someone was actually sitting down with me and talking to me at a soul level, and being like, "Hey, I see you. Here you are. Let's really work on some things within you that's going to bring you into alignment within your body." So yeah, go for it. Like,
I would say like it's really it goes connecting with that person that's in front of you fully.
Yeah.
Like I cannot recreate that right now because we're
Yeah.
not having that conversation.
Yeah.
Because
So-
you're actually feeling energy from the other person, and you're
So
You're
it's
reading
different
them in a
all
way.
the time, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like what's in your heart, like, and not what's in your heart. It's like the attention that I bring from me is you are the most important person that I have right now, that there is right now, and it's you. So
Yeah.
it is a safe space. Our space, I would say, it has its own soul and essence, you know, and we have, I would say, like our intention fully is for that space to feel like that, like healing as soon as a person step in.
Yeah.
It's like, what is in your heart, you know, what is in your soul, what has to be healed at the level that you need.
Yeah.
Something that we term is matching tone.
Yeah.
So just as you match the tone of an A string or any of those concepts,
Yeah.
we match the tone of the person wherever they're at. And
Even if they're like in a chaotic state of mind, how would you match that tone?
with safety.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So not from a sense of matching by losing your own
Mhm.
essence, but
Yeah.
matching from like how like with balance.
Yeah.
this sounds like Dr. Hawkins' tone scale. Like,
Yeah.
are you guys familiar? Like,
Like David Hawking or
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
like you've got somebody comes in with anger, and you know what emotion or level to match them at above that to bring them up out of that. Not like all, don't match an angry person with joy because they're just going to get pissed off at you because you're
Exactly.
joyful. But like
Yeah.
there's going to be like a little variation above anger that you can match
Yeah.
that personality, and it's actually going to pull them up a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah.
So is that what you guys are into,
Totally.
like trying
Yeah.
to do?
We match
Maybe,
tone
yeah.
through rapport. That's something. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Totally.
body and
And that goes from the conversation all the way to the table through touch.
Sure.
So
Through
you're
rapport.
on a table and someone says, I have a lot of pain in my shoulder.
Yeah.
I eavesdropped and heard you say what you're experiencing on the inside is and I'm probably butchering what you said,
No,
is
no,
a
you got it.
reflection of like what you're taking in from the outside.
Yeah. Inside out, as above, so below.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're
Yeah.
experiencing on the outside of our physical bodies, we're digesting that. Like, tell us a little bit about
So
that.
more like internal environment and external environment are a very mirror of their own selves,
Mm.
because each person has their own individual experience. So if you're having a chaotic and individual experience, then it's going to be reflective inside at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah, because I've always heard like someone who's anxious within
Yes.
feels the world is very anxious without.
Yes.
So you're seeing like not only are you feeling what's inside of you,
Yes.
that's what you're gonna feel outside of you.
I'd like to put a little caveat, just interject right there. That's one thing that I'm seeing going on a lot with the entire last year of this narrative of this pandemic is this kind of prescribed, you're supposed to feel this way. AKA, if you're not in fear, then you're either misinformed or something's wrong with you. Like, how could you be joyful during this period of time?
Right.
And even it's like a super unconscious, unspoken new rule.
Yep.
But I find it fascinating because I'm like, it actually doesn't matter. And this is like deep, esoteric stuff that you can read in the Bible, that basically it doesn't matter what's going on in the external world. It matters what goes on in the internal world, because the external will always end up taking its shape based on the internal world. So the internal landscape and the way that you feel, the vibration that you put out is of maximum importance, because that is what's going to manifest in the physical. And then it becomes this loop, this cycle. And so if you're unaware of that, then I think, you just are constantly saying, well, I feel this way because the external is doing this, or, this situation's going on. and it doesn't lead you into a position of empowerment, a position of being able to change the one thing you can change, which is you.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
You're trying to
anyways, that's
change
my-
other people.
Yeah.
Leaves you being a victim.
It does leave you
Victor
being a
instead
victim.
of a victim. Which path do you want to choose?
Exactly. Because even one thing I like to say is that even if you've been victimized, you don't have to be a victim. Like stuff happens in your life.
Yep.
It's okay. Like this is a very compassionate, safe space I'm trying to create verbally, but it's not about the fact, we're not trying to deny a fact of reality. Like trauma happens and drama happens and frustration exists. But how you define yourself is all about the inner landscape. And it's all about what's going to happen with the rest of your life after that moment. So if you take this one moment and then you let it define the rest of your life, like this is why we get so inspired by wild stories, you know, of some dude that was a basketball player and then like lost his legs and now he's in a wheelchair, but then he has this comeback story of being an amazing basketball player in a wheelchair.
Everybody loves a
You know?
comeback.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's because I think that, again, that's an innate part of us that knows that we can overcome.
Yeah.
But we have this avalanche of external stimulus that we have to learn how to disconnect from and to go back into the inner temple and pull from there.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to connect that fully back to where we were, but what I love about what I'm hearing from you guys is this energetic awareness. Like that I think is so important, especially in the medical field I'm speaking to actual doctors. I think it's fascinating that you two are so energetically aware, because I think that is one of the major elements that's missing. This heart
Spirituality.
vibration.
We've clearly talked off record, and that's really something important to you both. So can you tell us a little bit about what you think about your soul, your spirit, your relationship to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We could frame it into your chiropractic work too. Like,
Yeah.
what
I
I
about
think
your?
it interconnects fully.
Totally.
Both of it.
Yeah.
Like, give us
Yeah. No,
Like,
I got you.
who
meaning,
inspired
like-
you? Like, what set you on that path of?
I'd
Yeah.
say my inspiration was through my mentor John Martinez, and him leading me, you know, through him being the most humble man and one of the best facilitators of healing of thousands and thousands of people has led so many people closer to God, or closer to whatever any person wants to put that name on it. I term it God, and through my experience.
Then we'll call it God.
Yeah,
That's
then-
fine.
Then we'll call it God.
Yeah.
And that really just seeing God in everyone, but through him was coming across this Hindu philosopher and shaman, Nisargadatta Maharaj has been a big facilitator.
Is that the guy that wrote the book that you told
Yes.
me about?
I am
Yeah,
that.
I am.
Can you
that.
talk about that book?
I've never heard of this guy.
The book is called
He's
I Am
amazing.
That. And when Mitchell and I first met, we ended up talking about this
About
book
that.
briefly,
Yeah.
because I have tattooed on my arm Tat Tvamasi, which is Sanskrit for I am you, or thou art that. You are me, I am you. And so this book title, I am that,
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
it seems to be based totally on the same idea of Tat Tvamasi. And it's such a beautiful philosophy. And I haven't read the book yet, so I'd
Yeah.
love briefly if you
It's,
want to tell people about this.
It's really, to sum it up, it's about letting die what you are not. And the fire of
Mhm.
awareness can burn what you
Mm.
are not, but it
Mhm.
can burn what you are at the same time, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
really like paradoxically at the same time. But
Like most deep esoteric things.
yes, yes,
It's like,
Yeah.
like, because what you are will be unfolding forever until the day that you leave this physical world.
Yeah.
It's like you were talking about death. It's like that, we're dying and being reborn every single day. So I was actually reading today before coming here. His book is made in this form of type of answer and question. So it's a
Mhm.
bunch of interviews that were
Mhm.
questions asked to him by different gurus or people that went there to see him. And he was talking about that. He was like, because if you keep trying to look for who you are in a way, like who am I, you know, like every day you have every single different experiences that will change who you are in a way, you know. You learn something new and you're like, oh, okay, now I know how to do it, so I'm gonna do it differently. Are you following me there?
Yeah.
It's like that's the
We're tracking.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's my Spanglish. I gotta make sure that you guys are following me. So in a way, it's like it's gonna be a constant like look for. You're gonna be constantly looking for something in a way. So he actually emphasizes that, like who you are not. That's how you discover who you actually are, and then not attaching yourself to some identity because it's gonna change all the time.
100%.
That book
100%.
gave me so much freedom.
Yeah.
So much freedom.
So we use that in the form of like, instead of saying like I am a Democrat, I am a Republican,
I am a
or
chiropractor.
I am a chiropractor. It's like
Yeah.
no, like really, like God was made or you were made in the likeness of a Greek, or in you know, just like like no, like I am a spiritual being having this physical thing, and we all possess the spirit of God within us, and that is our intention through our work. Totally. That's through my work. Everyone who comes on my table, it's like that's the intention.
Yeah.
Of that's how I see you, that's how I view you, and bringing intention through attention to that.
Yeah, I see this conversation about these words I am as one of the most important conversations. And it's interesting, like there's a kind of a utility-based conversation around this, which is, I think, a good thing. Like to say I am a musician, it serves a purpose, especially in language, to describe to you what I do with a lot of my time. But if I make my entire identity about I am a musician, well, what happens if I lose an arm, or, you know, immediately my identity has been cut off.
Yes.
And then that triggers existential depression, and it all, even if your arm never gets cut off, you're limiting yourself into one facet of what you actually are or could be.
Oh yeah.
So
So we must find something beyond what we label ourselves in this physical plane. Like
the conversation you were having, Geyshla, about the I am not version of this train of thinking. In yoga philosophy, in the Vedas, there's this idea that's called the neti approach.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Yeah, because we talked about it so many times, but I love it. It's basically that their prescription for how you can find out who you are is to continuously name every single thing that you are not.
Beautiful.
I am not a cat.
It's at the end of naming all of those things that you will find what you are, which simultaneously can never be labeled, can never be described, can never be spoken, can never die.
Can never be born. Can never die.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So how does this book, because I sense that both of you have read this, how does this book impact your philosophies on your work?
Oh my God.
Well, it brings more of it to light. It brings more of it to practice. Like it's the total practice of that philosophy of holding that space for people to really have that space to figure that out for themselves. And
I got a really interesting question on this line. So somebody comes in and says, I have a problem in my shoulder. I don't know why we're harping on shoulders today, but so I have a problem in my shoulder. Do you get the sense that sometimes this is rooted in a mental identity of being in pain?
Yeah.
And then you try to heal them, but they hold this story?
Or an emotion or a feeling.
So we term that auto-suggestion. So through concepts, there's this, it'll auto-suggest into creating this story around this thing. So it's like it's probably when I played soccer in like 12th grade and they're like 40 years old or something like that. You know, like this it's like it's a story that they've developed this thing, and it's like unwinding that, but you have to come at it from a you place, and that you place is different for every person. For each facilitator, it's different. So
so you guys are like unraveling people's associations with pain.
And the understanding that, you know, sometimes, I would say not sometimes, like I would say all the time, life experiences that you have not integrated may be reflected on your physical body. You know, and like I don't know why I have had lately so many people coming, you know, with rib issues or shoulder issues, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
or elbow issues. That's an extension of your heart,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's where you connect it. And not everyone comes open, you know?
Right. Well, that's one thing that fascinates me about the medical field in general is that the mind, as I've gone down my last 12 years of exploring these kind of deep esoteric subjects, and I only use that word because it conveys a little bit of the fact that this is not just talked about freely, like between people. You have to seek this stuff out.
Yeah.
And when you seek it out, and then you start seeing what all of these spiritual teachers have been talking about forever and forever and forever, is that the mind plays one of the most important roles in your life, because the mind is the medium through which you tell your body a story, or you tell your reality a story.
Totally.
And so that's why I'm fascinated by this idea that you can, in the medical world, it seems to be, and obviously you guys are not doing this, but it seems to be just about masking the symptoms, but not getting to the root causes of things.
Because it pays.
It pays.
It pays.
Totally. And, you know, we all know that there's this kind of unhealth model going on that, like, you
So-
keep people in
Yeah.
this unhealthy
Yeah.
state, then you become massively rich.
Yeah.
But
I think it's really funny how last year everybody was like saying, "Oh, I got my COVID-15." You know, you gain 15
The
pounds,
pounds, yeah.
right?
Oh.
And then all of a sudden we have
what is it?
toxic diet culture. Like, you can't talk about
Oh,
people
yeah.
dieting
Like diet
or
shaming and stuff.
diet shaming and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And like, obviously, people are just built different. We are a very big world, and it's okay that, you know, I think everybody should be celebrated, but not to the point where it's in a detriment to your health, you know? And so I feel like over this past year, it's like we can't even talk about somebody that's really unhealthy. We can't even suggest to them, hey, good healthy practices might need to be put into place for you, because then that is an attack.
Right.
And I also feel, you know, even maybe in your work, like, people are starting to present these, I don't know, like, you tell me, these physiological pains or, you know, mental kind of fights within themselves, and they don't know where it's stemming from. And it's probably from the last year, and just trying to comply and stay relevant and stay in the in crowd, you know, because the in crowd is gaslighting us completely. So,
Totally. So it's about quieting the mind and coming back home to the heart. That's what our work really, if you could sum it up, it's about coming home to the heart, coming back home to the thoracic cage, which is like the biggest oscillator in the whole system.
Wow.
It's
Right.
the heart. It's like the biggest brain in the whole system.
Yeah.
And at the same time, not like forgetting about your mind. It's like, how can you connect this to
Yes.
this and make
Yeah.
decisions from both?
Yeah, it is a harmony of the two. It's
Yeah.
not an eliminate. If we didn't need a mind, we wouldn't have a mind.
Exactly.
So clearly we need one.
Yeah.
But who's running the show is
Yeah.
kind of the big
So-
question.
And so we use that, but not to give them another concept to believe in, but to give them freeness and openness to where they can quiet it
Yeah.
and at the
And
same time.
I feel it's something that happens organically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like you were, I don't know what question you asked that brought that.
The shoulder, the arm.
I think it was, I read it.
You can just get back to the answer though.
Yeah.
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 I don't
There's
care
no
what
need to,
question
like,
I
correlate
ask,
it.
like,
It was there. I was
just
like, I
flow
gotta
with
say
it.
it. And now I forgot. Yeah, that you know, understanding that we all have this innate intelligence within us, and
Yes.
us as practitioners, I cannot, like, people ask me, like, you know, spiritual people that come to the office is like, what do you think, like, my belly, like, aches are coming from, stemming from? What kind of emotion or what? And I'm like, well, I can, like, you know, for us, at least for me, I know for you, I don't like to limit them. I don't like to, like, auto suggest in a way nothing, because they are completely whole and complete within. And eventually, I don't know how it happens, but they come up with their own tools to meet their own needs, you know? And it's just beautiful changes that happen. And that connection, mind-heart connection start happening. And it's beautiful seeing people transform. You know, it's the same thing with the mask. Like, some people come with the mask on, and all of a sudden you see them, like, the next day, the next time, the mask is right here. And then
on the
next
chin.
Their nose is
appointment,
poking
it's
out.
like,
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are
And
laying
it's
down
off,
without
yeah.
it. And it's
Yeah.
like, you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Because we have this intelligence within that, when it's unleashed, the
I think people truly
changes are
just want
boundless.
permission. They want to be seen. They want to, they need permission. Like, it's okay.
I will say, though, on that point, that's one of the biggest things that bothers me, because the premise of that idea is that we have to get permission because we seek authority externally. And that's just one of the problems that I see that manifests in so many different ways. Is that
Well, no, you are a free thinker. Some people are not wired as freely as you are, and
I get that.
I do feel that people they have different experiences in life, and some people are a little bit more codependent, and you know, I do feel like older generations are like, COVID, what's COVID? I'm just going to go to Home Depot, aka my mother. And so like there's it's this weird gap of like the generation of people that you would think should be the most concerned are not, but it's like this age range of like teens to like
the 30s.
40s-ish, that are like becoming these like bullies around it. And I'm like, have you talked to your parents? Like, because I think more like probably over half of them are just like, I'm not going to let this, because their life they have come through so much more.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is just like, what?
And also, the older you get, when all of this narrative has changed, if you're in your 50s or even your 60s, you're going to see clearly the gaslighting. You're going to see clearly the critical questions that don't add up, the critical thinking that doesn't make sense in the mainstream narrative. And I think when you're younger, there's kind of this, especially when you enter your 20s, I think there's this like wild pressure that like the world is mine and I got things right. And so I'm going to go make a change. And then what especially the younger generation is not identifying is that these thoughts are being spoon-fed to us.
We're being taught how to think.
Yeah, so you think that you're actually standing up and saying something that was generated within you, but if you really had self-awareness, you'd realize it came from anywhere else but your own mind. How is it that 1 month into this situation, so let me just go back really quick. The beginning of 2020, the first thing that happens 1 month into it is they say, hey guys, I think we're going to try out doing a mask mandate. Most people, self included, didn't really have a big fuss about it. It was just kind of like, okay, why? That seems weird, but like, okay, it's not a big deal. Then the very next thing that I started noticing within 1 month after that, every single television commercial starts saying the new normal. Every single news outlet, the new normal. They all start parroting this propaganda, which if you are an awake person, you realize is coming from a select few corporations at the very top, pumping down this whole narrative. But you have to really think then, did I come up with this idea of new normal? No. Do I want this idea of new normal? Like maybe that's a question most people don't even ask themselves. Is this change that society is enforcing upon you something that you want? And back to what you were saying, KK, I think the older generation is just more rooted in their identity and being able to see and know what true freedom is, what true freedom of thought is, and how two people can have disagreements but yet maintain friendships and that kind of stuff we were talking about.
Yeah, I like what you said about being in your 20s and wanting to change the world. And something through a teacher of mine, he's passed now, but he said he's got this long talk on if you want to change the world, change yourself.
Yeah,
If you want to change the world, change yourself first.
Yeah.
Because how do we learn even as adults? But if you look at kids specifically, there's this awesome picture of this dad on the subway, and his little kid is reading a book, and his dad's reading a book as well. And it's like, parents, like, how do you teach your kids how to do something? Like, you do it. Like, you have to practice, because people learn through seeing and noticing, watching.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words. That is like such a true little catchphrase that I think people just kind of throw around, but it is, actions do speak louder than words. You can talk all day long, but you watch somebody and observe them, and it really shows their true integrity and their character.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think we have hit our
Yeah.
time limit. This is an awesome conversation,
fast.
but
Cool. Wow.
want to
Yeah.
know, like,
Sick.
how do people find you? Like, you guys
Yeah.
are I loved going and visiting you guys, and I felt amazing, and I think everyone should experience that.
Yeah, thank you. We're everywhere.
Yeah, you can find us on
Instagram.
Instagram at elemental_chiropractic. We're on-
Elemental_chiropractic.
Yeah, and our
Okay.
website is elementalchiropractic.life. And,
Oh, dot life.
and
Dot life.
Facebook, it's just
Elemental
Elemental
Chiropractic.
Chiropractic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
and we'll obviously be posting things on our Instagram, and
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody can contact us at the rememberingpodcast@gmail.com. Instagram, you can DM us. We're the Remembering Podcast. And I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on. And
Yeah.
honestly, like for people like us, we're used to putting ourselves out there. So I just want to honor you for putting yourselves
yeah,
out there like
thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
And I'm
Yeah.
so encouraged by your bravery. And it's not a word that we usually throw around to people that refuse to wear masks. So that's specifically why I'm calling it out, though, because I do think that we need to normalize this part of the dialogue. And
Yeah.
the major thing for me is that our bodies have innate intelligence. And the more we explore that, understand it, and then utilize it, the more we're actually going to heal our bodies and actually protect society,
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
we'll be healthy. And when your body's healthy, then you are protecting other people. You don't need a mask to make sure that you're
Yeah.
healthy. So anyways, I honor you for opening up like this and
Yeah.
putting yourselves out there. And
Thank you.
yeah, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having
All
us.
right.
All right, so we'll be doing our next podcast episode in about 2 weeks.
Yep.
And you never know what it's going to be about. So make sure you subscribe and tune
Maybe about
in.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never
Definitely
know,
all
yeah.
that.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks again. Have a
Thank you,
beautiful
guys.
day, and
Yeah.
we'll talk to you again soon.